yes, to your real slave. No death of freedom, a final choice. Those on this don't kneel, don't like you cowards. Do WWF, this world is wrong to be.
What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, the Nature Boy Joe, and Cuz is off this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
It did not work. David, with your permission, I would like to introduce
opportunities. What was that, Jess?
I'm going to introduce a new topic on you fucks.
It is new. Whoa.
It's called Missed Opportunities. And what we're going to do is we're going to address what we think. It involves a little bit of fantasy booking, I'm sure. It involves a little bit of I don't know. I can't think of anything else fancy to say. It's missed opportunities. We can pick a wrestler or an event where we thought like, wow, like, we're glad that it happened at the time. But
you missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, they missed the boat on it, or it was a missed opportunity, or they booked it wrong, or they had the wrong person in the role, or whatever. And this week, to kick it off, I would like to do missed opportunities. The Ultimate Warrior's WWF title run, his only title run in 1990. And I want to talk to you guys and see if you agree with me. Was that a missed opportunity? We all know the Ultimate Warrior is still talked about to this day, so obviously his legacy lives on, and the WWF/WWE Power Machine can really push a legacy.
Not to get too deep into it to start, Jess, but when you explain it to us and you talk about feeding, you feed the champion, you fed Hogan. I'm like,
you're totally going to get into it.
I don't want to get into it like specifics, but I was like, I didn't think it was a missed opportunity at one point because I know the Warrior he fucked it up on his own at the same time.
Because it's easy for us to shit on the Warrior, which we do.
Exactly.
And a lot of people do.
And I'm ready to right now.
But at the same time, if you're looking at it with like objective eyes, and I was a major Hogan fan, so the fact that he beat Hogan already, he's in my missed opportunities list. And but if I look back now and I'm being honest, and here this is 45-year-old Jess watching wrestling for so many years, just like you guys have. I get to the point where I'm like, well, wait, why was that so different? Why in the world would they abandon the formula that they just had major success with? Why did this happen? Maybe it was backstage. I don't know. But a lot of guys are dicks backstage. A lot of people are divas backstage. What's the difference? So
you don't think Hogan was a diva backstage? Like, come on.
He was a diva. They wore high heels and shit. What? Was that a different diva?
Yeah. Warrior wore high heels. I saw it.
It's fine. And they were painted.
See it.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, Joe.
They had tassels on.
Well, let's jump right into the interview There it is.
Craig. I want you to play it because it's a funny as shit clip, and I want you to play it, the whole thing. I want to hear it. We'll all be silent.
As much as possible, please.
Okay. Done.
Done. So the Ultimate Warrior cleanly defeated Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 on April 1st, 1990 to win his only WWF Heavyweight Championship.
Backing up. Got him with the he nailed him. Here it is. He moved out of the way. Look out, the big splash. 1, 2. He got him. Unbelievable. The Warriors won the title. We have a new World Wrestling Federation champion. And
he was the first person to do that since Hogan was winning the WWF Championship in 1984. After that, Vince created a monster factory of massive, evil wrestlers to be fed to Hogan. They would also sprinkle in the Macho Mans, the Curt Hennings, things like that. It was a firm template in the face of the champion that Hogan was able to thrive in. When you fast forward to 1990, you have the Ultimate Warrior defeating the company's biggest star, and take his place on the top of the mountain. Kind of.
I don't understand. There's a lot of shit behind the curtain that goes on in pro wrestling. When we were kids at our biggest fandom here in the 90s, like, obviously there was no internet. Obviously, we didn't even know, I don't think, what dirt sheets were. In 1990, we were in junior high, like 8th grade or something like that. Or 7th, maybe. I don't even remember. So we didn't even know. We were just kids. We were buying every storyline they threw at us. We were into it. Hogan was the guy. Like, he had been the guy for a long time. And whether you were a kid or an adult, you understood that. Like, you just, oh, you like wrestling? Oh, like the Hulk Hogan guy. Or, oh, WWF. Like, it was a brand. You just knew the two were together. So you get to a point where Hogan wants to become, an acting star. We can all laugh later. But at the time, he wanted to do that. I mean, he wanted to take it easy on his body. He wanted other ventures. Vince actually wanted to get into producing movies, which WWE Films would eventually be a thing after, years later. But Vince produced No Holds Barred with another movie studio, but Vince was a part of it. So after that, Hogan was going to go away to film. I want to say it was Suburban Commando that he filmed in 1990 when he went away after he lost the Warrior.
Great movie.
You pass the torch. You pick a guy. This guy, we put the Intercontinental title on him. Crowd is really motivated by him. We give him his first loss, WrestleMania 5, to Rick Rude. Crowd still gets behind him. The crowd really likes this guy. He's getting Hogan-esque responses. You feel the shaking of the building when he's in the building. You feel the electricity. We might have another Hogan on our hands. At the very least, even if we have half a Hogan, that's fine. Like, we just need somebody to kind of step in here. And I think it was a little different. I think when Macho was champion, they knew Hogan was coming back because Hogan left originally when Macho was champ to film No Holds Barred, and then he came back and then beat Macho. So Hogan still had a lot of power. I think Hogan was semi-weakening here.
Yeah,
in
Macho never pinned Hogan ever.
Yeah, and so I think that Hogan was weakening here, and Vince actually said, "Okay, I want to anoint another Hogan." So in case he goes away, in case Suburban Commando is a goddamn blockbuster and makes $100 million at the box office, like, I need another guy.
It didn't do that? I thought it did that.
No, unfortunately. That's a different topic altogether. And so
Bad
they
movies by wrestlers next week.
They crown the Warrior, and Hogan goes away for like 3.5 months on top of that. And Hogan goes away for 3.5 months after that. And Dave, you're going to read on. So you would think, okay, since 1984, Vince and Hogan finally tuned this template for him, where a lot of people just say all Hogan faced was big monsters. And that's not true, because he had Orndorff, he had Piper, he had Savage, he had Hennig a little bit later in the run. So he had a lot of, like, wrestlers that he faced too. Greg Valentine was on there, like, in Hogan's early years as champion. But then you did throw in the Bundys, the Andres, the one-man gangs, the Kamalas. You did all that stuff as well. So there was a very fine template that Hogan would go after. He would get the fresh heels. They were literally shined up to be beaten by him. Or on house shows, he would maybe lose by count out here and there to get people to buy tickets again. And, you did the whole thing. The house show industry drove the business at the time. People should know back here. So it was different than today. And then you get to the Warrior. So you crown him. He beats the biggest star. He cleanly defeats Hogan for the first time since 1984. Nobody had done that. He got cheated out of the title with the twin referees against Andre. He never lost the belt. I mean, he did, but he didn't. So it was a whole thing. And then the Warrior beats him 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania in front of 67,000 people in a match that people still talk about to this day. And then, so I'm like, oh my God, the template they're going to have for the Warrior, they're going to do the same thing. He's the Warrior. He's a big guy. Looks like a comic book character ripping out of your TV screen. Got paint on his face. Everything. You can say what you want, that he wasn't the same worker as Hogan was or whatever, and I will agree with you, but it doesn't matter. What we saw on the screen, we saw energy. We saw this guy that was going to take the reins. What better way than when... Well, Dave, you need to read on, actually, because we could talk about what they didn't do afterwards.
In addition to that, I think that, they were also... I think you said it yourself, Jess, like they had this formula since 1984. By 1990... Hogan wasn't yet getting boos out there, but it wasn't shortly. It wasn't it wasn't long before he was starting to get booze that the formula was starting to get a little stale.
Yeah.
So perhaps they were just kind of like, okay, well, you have a new guy. Maybe we'll alter the formula a little bit. But also, I mean, on the flip side, I'm sure there was definitely some backstage politicking. Like Hogan, when he comes back, he's like, oh, I want Earthquake. I want I want these.
Well, I would say that plays
guys.
into it more than I would say that plays into it more than you're letting on right now. And then me, a Hogan fan, saying that, by the way. But also too, I what you say is that's a great point of view, Joe, for sure. But at the same time, like, you also have to give the Warrior a chance to grow. Like, if you just judge Hogan on his 84, you'd be like, I mean, you can go back and look, and Vince was just throwing at him the Dr. D's, the Greg Valentines, the people he had at the time. And then in 85, 86, they started to fine-tune okay, we got a rhythm going here. I got Bundy, I got Stud, I got all these other guys like that I'm going to throw at him. And we'll throw the Savages in there and the Pipers and the Orndorffs, the smaller, more mobile guys. But it really shocked me when, as a fan, I remember after the Warrior wins, I was like, oh, he faced Haku? And we love Haku, but like on screen, Haku is a mid-card guy. Like, it's just, okay, he's facing him for the world title.
Where's the monster you're going to feed Warrior, right?
Yeah.
So here's the like you all mentioned, before, Hogan had that template in place. The Warrior started defending the title against random challengers like Ted DiBiase.
He's got it! 2 with Virgil. What's he doing in there? Wait a second. DiBiase has been disqualified. DiBiase has been disqualified. Virgil, blatantly interfering in the match, trying to set the Warrior up. Reversal off the rope now. Oh, what a clothesline by the Ultimate Warrior.
Haku, Mr. Perfect, with really no long-term feud in place. He would just be like, oh, who am I facing tonight? Oh, it's Mr. Perfect? Okay, I'll tear him apart. That's great. But for the drama and the nostalgia of it, it doesn't work in the realm of the Hogan template that you could have had Warrior follow. And I know there's probably people on this podcast, and I tend to agree that maybe Warrior couldn't follow templates in feuds and things that would carry on, because we saw some that didn't play out. Jake the Snake is one, Undertaker's another. This didn't work out. They're kind of weird. I don't know. But when you have him in this moment with the strap to him and the rocket strap to him, you would think
and Hogan gone for 3.5 months.
And Hogan gone, right? So, yeah. So at SummerSlam, the WWF rehashed a feud with Rick Rude, whom the Warrior easily defeated in a steel cage.
Who is the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion? Rude reached through the bars. You can still see him reach through the bars. Rude. Oh, look at Generation Van Dam. Rude still wants to fight. Rude still looking for a fight. It's been a good day for Bootsy, huh? The winner of this bout is World
At
Wrestling Federation, the Ultimate Warrior.
the time. And by the way, the IC feud between Rude and Warrior is fantastic. But that had finished. That was done.
And that was literally just a litmus test, for him to be world champion. That was one of the rungs he had to climb.
And I'll argue a little bit to Rude's favor that Rude put on a good 20, 30 pounds of muscle between the IC
Oh, no, he
feud.
did. And he cut his hair.
He looked
and he
great.
Cut his hair.
But yeah, and he cut his hair. I'm like,
but
wow,
let's face
Rick Rude
it,
looks
can we
amazing.
all be honest on this call right now? Rick Rude was not a main eventer in the WWF.
No. He was in WCW. That's another story, right? But the event leading up to it, if he'd actually beaten Warrior, I'd argue, okay, and the Warrior gets it back, okay, then we're on to something. But to Jess's point, he defeated him so easily after Rude put in all that work. You're like, well, what was the point of that?
I think they had buyer's remorse. I think they thought it was going to be a good idea. Then when they started actually like drilling down and like looking at it, and they're like, this is a bad idea.
Here is
like,
where
and I don't know how much time we want to.
I'll put a counter argument that's not the best because Joe will probably drive it into the ground. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of guys that did it for the paycheck. Lex Luger comes to mind. Lex Luger won.
Kevin Nash.
They won several championships and it worked to some
Ultimately,
extent. Hogan, but Hogan learned to love the business, right? And I think my argument to that is, if you weren't sold on it, why did you strap him in the first place? Why didn't you find somebody else? Maybe there was nobody else.
Because they had to.
But Macho was still around at the time. Last time I checked, there's people that you could strap it to. Again, we're all fantasy booking here. What I would argue is that you gave the Warrior no attempt to grow, and then maybe he would love the business. I doubt it, Joe. Seriously.
Well, no,
I do
Joe,
doubt
Joe
that.
makes good points, and it's why I wanted this topic.
But
it's why I like this topic.
You weren't given the opportunity to begin
I want to see how we all four of us react to this topic.
It's an incredible conundrum.
That will determine like how I write the future missed opportunities going forward. But Dave, I'll read on too. So the big key here was Hogan, when he came back in the summer of '90, would get the fresh heel Earthquake.
Yeah.
Put him out 3.5 months earlier.
Yeah.
Why would you not? Why you? So why would you not? So when Hogan, so the template was that with Hogan, you get a fresh heel.
Just
he would do something he would injure Hogan's ribs, or he would do something.
Yeah, just to tie it back though, but to give you, brother. But to compare it, Jess. By the end of the year, he teamed up with the Legion. He, being the Warrior, teamed up with the Legion of Doom against Demolition on a house show loop.
The Legion of Doom came in to help them and cleaned out the opposition there, which leaves the Warrior bites out there.
Oh, flying tackle!
Oh, look at this smashing down! Tremendous leap!
Big splash! It's over!
Oh, a tremendous victory!
This place has gone crazy! Standing ovation for the Ultimate Warrior! And the Legion of Doom! And the Legion of Doom! And the Ultimate Warrior!
Nothing to do with singles championships. Nothing to do with the world title.
Nothing. And then Hogan gets that fresh heel face at SummerSlam of '90. And he was out all of summer.
So the Warrior stuck with Rick Rude in a cage in a rehash feud, and then he gets stuck in a six-man title matches.
Just to give you an idea, though, I literally saw on local news in my house on cable television in Wildemar, where I used to live, the Hogan, not the Warrior, but the Hogan defeating the Mighty Earthquake in 1990 at a SummerSlam. It actually was on local news.
Of course.
The Warrior was nowhere to be found. Who was the champion last time?
And I'm not even saying that Hogan shouldn't have got like Earthquake. I have no problem with Earthquake putting Hogan out for the summer and then coming back. However, here's what should have happened. Your brand new champion should have absolutely stepped forward and said, really? So you think you could just put this legend out? This guy that I had to fight, the toughest match of my life.
Jess.
I beat Hulk Hogan.
Is that not a total Rocky moment, by the way?
Yeah. Warrior should have absolutely came out and said, you know what? I beat this guy. I beat Hogan. I beat the greatest wrestler WWF's ever seen. I beat him 1, 2, 3. I have the weight of all the Warriors and all the Hulkamaniacs on my shoulders now. And this guy comes in here and attacks Hogan and puts him out? No, not on my watch. And then you could have literally had Warrior and Earthquake tour for 2 months on the house shows.
Oh my God.
I'm not suggesting the Warrior beats him every time, but you tempt it. Warrior might beat him by count out. Earthquake might beat Warrior.
Warrior gets knocked out of the ring. It's counted out, but he holds the title.
Bundy all the time. There were so many matches that I saw when Hogan and Bundy were doing the house loop where Hogan would go on the outside of the ring, Heenan would be a little bitch and grab his leg, and Bundy would avalanche him against the corner.
And then Hogan would count it out, right?
And then Bundy would roll back in, count it out. Guess what you're going to do? I'm going to fucking buy tickets to their goddamn rematch because that piece of shit Bundy and that piece of shit Heenan, you fucking guys, like that's all they had to do with Earthquake. And then when Hogan comes back, Hogan still gets Earthquake at SummerSlam because Warrior's not going to beat him. Warrior's not going to make him look stupid and just pin him everywhere. Like Warrior's going to just at least defend him. So that way all the fans are like, wow, the Warrior is our new hero. He's defending Hogan.
It's
like
ridiculous.
Hogan's down and out. We got the Warrior.
I'm so sold on this missed opportunity.
Yeah, they just literally they did the same thing with Sting, by the way, when he beat Flair. Is they had nobody for him except for the goddamn Black Scorpion. We all know how that worked out. You sabotaged them.
It's fair.
Each guy. It's funny
fair.
that it was Sting and the Warrior, the Blade Runners. They beat the two biggest wrestlers in wrestling history up to that point, Hogan and Flair, in separate federations. And then the company was like, oh, I mean, we got to do shit for them. We got to write storylines and put them in a template. That's weird. It's like, yeah, but you did that with Flair and Hogan for a decade. Sure. And then you get your new champions that you booked to beat them. And then they beat them. And you're like, well, why can't we do the Black Scorpion? Why isn't that good? Because it's not good. Because it's not good at all. It's stupid.
It's not established.
You had no challengers for Sting. And you had no challenger for the Warrior. You give Hogan the brand new heel. And then Hogan barely beats him by the way,
was Tenta not an insane opponent? That was
how
perfect.
Was he not Bundy and One Man Gang and all that shit?
He was
probably better.
I would argue he's more.
Yeah.
Tenta was a legit badass.
Why the Warrior wouldn't have gotten his face the week after he puts Hulk out, to
that sounds perfect.
And he might want to retire.
I'm excited about it right now. We should go back in time.
Not on my watch.
I do get excited about that. At Royal Rumble 1991 in January, the Ultimate Warrior would lose the title to Sergeant Slaughter in a pure transitional champion mode due to interference by Randy Savage. And I would argue Warrior and Savage matches were fantastic. We talk about them on this podcast in episodes back. But I'm telling you right now,
I can actually
defend that. 5 fucking elbows on him, and he still kicked out.
Well, I could defend. I could defend that booking.
5?
Yeah, it was
What's
5. I can defend that booking, but I really do believe that if they would have booked the Warrior stronger, I'm not saying you don't take the title off him, but you put it back on him later. And obviously the Warrior fired himself, so maybe that's a moot point.
Wait, no! Oh, look at that! With the center, right between the eyes! What is this, hot rod? It's 3 against 1 here! The referee, I don't think so! Coming out.
But
sure, maybe the Warrior was right. You're not using me right, I'm out.
So when Hogan came back, and then we start the march into Mania 7, you got to agree. And again, me as a Hogan fan, you would think I would not say this. I couldn't see in my mind if we go with the booking that we just talked about and we make the Warrior strong and he confronts Earthquake and he does everything. It's the Warrior and Savage for the title at Mania 7 versus Savage's career. Warrior's title versus Savage's career. That's what you do. But, however, I can't – so Hogan and Slaughter would have been not for a title. That would have been a fart in church, even though the match in general I think was a fart in church. But at least it was for the WWF title. I don't think that Hogan could have not been in the title picture. So I agree with that booking in the sense that, Warrior and Savage just went off on the side – and they just did their thing.
I think you agree with the fact that there was a war going on and it should have been involved in this storyline.
Or maybe they drag Hogan and Earthquake out, and Hogan faces Earthquake for no title at WrestleMania, pins him definitively, slams him, pins him, there you go, and then the Warrior beats Savage, and then maybe we played a Hogan and Warrior 2 at WrestleMania 8? I don't know. Again, if you're fantasy booking...
What if Hogan pins Earthquake, but Earthquake gets payback after the match and cripples him badly? And then Warrior wins his match, and then it's Earthquake on to Warrior after. All fantasy booking.
I just feel like if you're Vince and you want to bail on the Warrior, I would be like, why are you doing that? You got Hogan. Why are you bailing on him?
I would argue
no reason for it.
And Joe said it earlier, they had reservations about the Warrior. I'm like, okay.
I just think at a certain point,
maybe the Warrior
and they were
was
just
a goddamn nightmare in the back, Joe. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was to that point where they couldn't manage him.
I'm just thinking that that they 100% had buyer's remorse and that they viewed having Warrior as champion like being in a fight and you're losing. I'm just gonna go into the fetal position and wait till the kicking's done. They were just waiting for Hogan to return and to kind of listen, let's just kick the can down the road a little bit and figure out how to get out of this Warrior mess because we as they say in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You chose poorly, and then you die and float away. I think at a certain point they realized they chose poorly. They're like, okay, well, let's just figure out how to get the title off of him. Let's just, let's just take the punches while we can, and get back to Hogan, and then figure our way out of it. I think they had buyer's remorse.
Joe, I do not disagree with what you say. again, Joe actually introduced me to WCW in the long run. Joe and I have been wrestling fans forever, and actually it's what brought us together. Like when I first met Joe, I don't remember the question you asked me, but it was more of like so what do you like to do? I'm like, I like wrestling, and you're like, me too. And I was like, I like WWF. You're like, I do too, but I also watch NWA. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And you're like, I have cable. And I'm like, go on. And then it just kind of like came from that. And so so I don't disagree with what you're saying at all, but I also feel that I think it's blatantly obvious that they didn't have a plan for him after he won the title.
No,
so now I'm not saying it didn't sour 6 months later, but it's weird that Vince, who had a strategic plan with Hogan to take over the world in 84 through whatever, up to slamming Andre, up through, losing the title, twin referees, up through whatever. And then he gets to the Warrior and he's like, I don't know. It's like, well, how you not know? Like you did the same thing with the guy before. You have a new face now. You have a younger guy. You have a different energy than what Hogan was. Like, even though they were kind of the same because they were both super colorful and tan and red and yellow and colors and tassels and everything. But at the same time, Warrior could have been different. I feel like if he would have been able to latch onto a big heel in the beginning and have a meaningful program for the belt, I think that a lot of people would never have turned on the Warrior or not bought tickets, or you know what I mean. Like, yeah. I think it would have been way better for him. I feel, and that's why I wanted to do this first. Like, I feel it's a missed opportunity. I feel maybe it ends up the same. Maybe Slaughter still beats Warrior. Maybe Hogan still beats Slaughter at Mania 7. Maybe it all happens the same. Warrior still gets fired in after SummerSlam 91. It all happens the same. But I feel like if you set the table a little differently, maybe you didn't experience that dip or that we don't know what to do with the guy. How do you not know what to do with the guy? He's the same. He's the same as Hogan, like in a sense. Like it's the same
I would
thing.
think of too, because you made the parallel between him and Sting. Like, what if the roles had been reversed and Sting was in Warrior's position? If Sting had been,
I don't
in
know
WWF
if you take the belt off
time,
Sting,
and you're like, like how would that
question.
how does that work out? Like, I mean, that's some pretty extreme.
Sting beats Hogan
right
with
there,
the Stinger
but,
Splash into the Scorpion Deathlock at WrestleMania 6. Hogan taps. Oh God, brother.
I don't know if Hogan would agree to that. He was like, "Yeah,
absolutely not.
That doesn't work for me."
Well, even the pin by Warrior, he kicks out right.
Vince's like,
at the
this is what we're
end,
gonna do.
Really
He's gonna Stinger Splash you in the corner. You're gonna fall. He's gonna put you in the Scorpion Deathlock and tap. He's like, all I heard from you was Stinger Splash in the corner into a quick small package, and I kind of kick after 3. Like, Vince's like, that sounds fine.
That's right.
That's what I heard, brother. I don't know. It's weird. The AC's loud in this building.
Wow. Yeah. For audio fans, give us on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at AL Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you do us a solid and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter?
I know it's coming.
At O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. For Dave, Jess, Craig, and Joe. This is the O.W.P saying, have a good one.
Yes, do you really slave? The death of freedom, a valid choice. Doesn't this don't need